back in the day, people would say, I don't need a website. I've got a brochure. I've got my brochure. And then people would say, I don't need SEO. I have a website. People are going to come to my website. And then people would say, I don't need social media. I've got a website. The law firms that were doing SEO 15 years ago, firms today will never catch up to.
Welcome to Tip the Scales podcast. I'm Jenn Gore, and I'm taking over the podcast again. I'm joined today by Michael McCready. We talked about some amazing things like AI, systems in your law firm, moving to Puerto Rico. So much value packed into this episode, so stay tuned. Michael McCready, welcome to Tip the Scales podcast.
Great to see you again, Jen.
Always a pleasure, my friend. So we're here at AAJ. And I called you up and I was like, come be on the podcast. We have to catch up. You have a lot going on in your life.
As always, as do you.
Just moved to Puerto Rico.
Yes.
You were kind of telling me about this as you were moving there. How has it been?
It's been fantastic. Listen, this was a major life decision. It was not undertaken lightly. My wife and I planned this for well over a year, but we're absolutely thrilled. It's our new home. Amo la cultura boricua. So I love the Puerto Rican culture.
And before we get further into it, tell our audience who you are, where your law firm is, and any other fun facts.
Sure. I'm Michael McCready. I'm the managing partner of McCready Law. We have offices in Chicago, Indianapolis, St. Louis, and soon to be Minneapolis.
Amazing.
It's a single event personal injury practice. We've got 16 lawyers, a team of 100 professionals, 20 of which are international team members.
You've been growing, my friend.
We have been growing.
When we were in a mastermind maybe 2 years ago, your firm was significantly smaller.
We have doubled in the last 12 to 18 months, doubled in staff and doubled in the number of cases. One of my strengths, I was a really good trial attorney, but I'm a better managing partner.
So you made that transition in the last 2 years?
No, I've been making it for the last 10 years. Okay.
What ramped this exponential growth? More marketing?
A lot of different things. One is having the confidence in what I had built out in terms of the teams and the processes and the people and the hiring and the culture to be able to take on more cases. It's great. Most people think, make that phone ring, sign up the cases. And that's good, but somebody needs to handle the cases.
Yes.
And I think that too many law firms are concerned about, where the new cases are coming in and not paying enough attention to what they're doing with the cases when they come in.
The reality is, if you're going to ramp marketing and intake, you have to have a simultaneous plan for ramping hiring.
Absolutely.
And once marketing and intake explodes, other things start to break.
Yes. So I learned this lesson years ago. We had a big surge in cases, and that surge was like a boa constrictor eating a pig.
Yes.
And it comes into intake, and intake was bombed. And then it goes to case managers, and they were overwhelmed. Then it goes to medical records, and they were overwhelmed.
And people are now resisting growth because their life is getting worse because their caseload tripled. They don't have the support. So now you've created an environment where people are not happy about growth.
That's right. And how am I supposed to execute my vision? And my vision includes growth.
It's so painful.
If my team isn't able to embrace it. So with this expansion that we've had over the last couple of years, we've been very, very deliberate about it.
Strategic.
Correct. And you know me well enough. I'm a person of numbers and metrics. So, it starts with the number of leads. So if we increase the number of leads by 100, we're going to sign up 30, okay, about a 30% sign up rate. We're going to withdraw from about 20%, which means we're down to 24. We're going to refer out 10%. So now we're down to 21. So every 100 leads, I'm going to settle 21 of them in-house. I know how many intakes people are needed for how many leads and how many signups. I know how many case managers we need. So by knowing each of those numbers, I can, strategically plan for increasing the number of leads and conversions.
A lot of people will say, how did you discover all that?
Um, when my kids are largely grown now, but when they would go to bed at 8 o'clock, I didn't watch television. I just sat around on my computer and worked until midnight and learned these kind of things. I taught myself HTML coding. This is going back in the day. When I signed up with Smart Advocate, huge fan. In 2017, I learned it and I've built it out. It's just,
You're
that's
very,
what I do in my spare time.
obsessed. Like you like to obsess and like figure things out.
Some people play golf, some people go to the bar, some people go fishing. I geek out on technology.
Okay. So talking about technology, you and me are kind of like super geeking out on AI right now.
Mhm.
Tell me some things you're doing in AI.
Oh, where do I start? You got a couple hours?
Yes.
I'm trying to think what we've done just recently. Okay. So we're incorporating AI in as many aspects as we can, and we're doing a lot of it in-house. There's some fantastic platforms out there, and I tell everyone, if you're not going to do it yourself, get on one of these platforms. But internally, most of our AI is built just on ChatGPT. But so things that we do in-house.
Like you're using it in marketing, you're using it in intake.
In everything. So it's really good for training young attorneys. I mean, I've tried a lot of cases. I know how to do a voir dire. I know how to do an opening. I've read all the books, the trial books, the reptile theory, and
Yes.
all of that, and David Ball on damages. But these young attorneys who have never tried a case and they've got a case coming up for trial, it speeds up the learning process. Amazing. So, for example, and I do this presentation to bar associations. Start with a fact pattern. I've got a 12-year-old girl who goes to the emergency room complaining of abdominal pain. They give her some Pepto-Bismol, discharge her, and her appendix ruptures.
Got it.
Okay, easy. I mean, those are literally the facts. So I will put into ChatGPT, you are an experienced trial lawyer trying a case in whatever jurisdiction, because it makes a difference, right? If it's Chicago, that's one kind of jury. If it's out in the burbs, it's another. So we'll do that. Fashion me a voir dire. And it will do. And listen, it's not groundbreaking. I could have done it. There were a lot of questions I would have asked. But for a young attorney, there it is. But it gets better, okay? ChatGPT, are you familiar with the reptile theory? Yes, I am. Please craft me an opening statement based on the theories in the reptile theory.
So good.
And there it is.
So it's coming down to knowing how to prompt AI.
Absolutely.
Now, what about the case where, they're saying don't put your client's sensitive information into ChatGPT? What are you doing to avoid that?
Well, listen, ChatGPT has a free version, okay? Don't use the free version, folks. The free version learns on what you're telling it and what you're giving it. That's bad. For $20 a month, you can have a private GPT. We have an enterprise license throughout the entire firm, but with the paid version, you have to go into you go into the settings, data control, and there's a little icon there that says, Make ChatGPT better by learning. Turn that off.
Turn it off.
Turn it off, okay?
That's a great tip. A lot of people don't even know that's there.
Yes. And then what that does is a closed environment. So whatever you are asking, it stays within that environment. Anything you upload into ChatGPT with that little, data sharing off stays within it. So another couple tricks. So we do deposition summaries. So we'll upload a deposition, but we have programmed, and programmed isn't the right word. It's teaching the ChatGPT.
Teaching.
But it really is programming. So it's our lawyers each have a different style of what they like with their deposition summary. So we will upload deposition summaries by each of our attorneys.
And then say, do like Bob.
Exactly. And the ChatGPT will say, who wants the deposition summary? Well, Michael does. Do you want it in your typical style? Well, yes, I do. Or no, I don't. Give me other examples of how I can have a deposition summary. Okay, and there's 10 different versions. Do you want bullet points? Do you want page and line numbers? Do you want it by topic, by theme? And it will give you exactly what you ask for. So that's what and here's a little trick though. With that deposition summary, as soon as we are done with that deposition, we have programmed it to delete it from its memory.
Good.
Here's the reason why. Well, it's not for privacy. Okay. Here's the reason why is let's say we have a deposition summary of Dr. Smith, and then we have another case with a deposition, the same doctor. There is a chance that it will cross.
Merge.
That's a hallucination, right? It thinks it's giving you what it wants, but if you've got two depositions of the same doctor in there, you might not get what you want. So we have instructed our ChatGPT, when you are done completing the summary, please delete the transcript, which I just uploaded.
That's great. What do you say to people who are resisting AI?
So back in the day, people would say, I don't need a website. I've got a brochure. I've got my brochure. And then people would say, I don't need SEO. I have a website. People are going to come to my website. And then people would say, I don't need social media. I've got a website.
So true. We've seen this before.
And anybody that was at the forefront got a head start. The law firms that were doing SEO 15 years ago, firms today will never catch up to. Like yourself, the people doing social media, unless you catch fire, which is always possible, it's hard to catch up. So
You're putting yourself behind the 8 ball.
That's
if you
right.
do not get curious about AI.
Anybody who is not doing AI in some manner right now is going to be behind.
Yes.
It's going to be behind. I'm not saying you need to be out there doing what McCready is doing, right? But you need to be investigating it for your firm.
I feel like before, when we were in a mastermind, you were sharing a lot of you were doing a lot of unique stuff in your firm that other people weren't doing for years. Like, anything you want to share?
Yeah, I mean, my brain is wired in such a way that I want things to be very efficient.
Yes.
I don't want too much discretion for people to have to make decisions because
Type A personality.
Exactly. I can't micromanage. I can't control everything. But if I can program it so it happens the same way every single time.
Systems driven.
Systems, right. And so a lot of it just is, looking and identifying what the issue is and then figuring out a way to technologically address it.
Yes. So, I mean, you were doing a lot of stuff with how you, I want to say, but you weren't using like a case status type of program, but you were doing some type of internal system.
Yeah. So we use Smart Advocate, and Smart Advocate has the ability to do what are called automated processes.
That's what you were sharing.
Yes. And I believe that FileVine and Litify and all these others
have the ability.
have some capacity to do that. So what we do is if A, B, C, and D always happen in that order, B and C are done automatically.
Yes.
Okay? So we just do A and then there's D. So some of the automated processes that we use are for client communication.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So every lawyer sends a copy of the complaint to the client. Hey, we filed a lawsuit. That's great. But we inundate clients with status.
With communication.
With communications.
That's what kind of you're known for.
Right.
You were saying that the happiness of the client was exponentially higher with this, you're almost like harassing the client, right?
Yes.
Because most law firms, they're not giving enough.
We have over 200 automated texts to go out to clients that potentially could go out to clients over the course of
Does anyone ever say, you're calling me too much?
Well, that's interesting that you say that, is because we send a survey out and we ask.
That's so good.
We send a survey out and it says, how is the communication between you and the law firm? And on a scale from 1 to 5, 5 is great. 1 is not. No, I think 5 is too much. I forget, but the top or the bottom is too much. And then the 1 is I need more. 5 is it's too much. We never have too much. Nobody ever complains of too much.
But you've given them the opportunity
That's right.
to voice that. And would you say that's like one of your key differentiators that people say about your firm?
Well, listen, I mean, we are in the customer service business.
Correct.
And our service is legal services, but it's customer service. People are used to Amazon and Starbucks and, what companies are known for great service. And then they come to a law firm and they don't get their calls returned. They don't know what's going on with their case. And so we kind of looked at our law firm as how can we provide the best customer service? And we looked
Yes.
outside of the law firm, right?
I am so in alignment with you on this topic. Honestly, it's such a driving force, but it's also extremely difficult to execute.
Mm-hmm.
So
But once you set it up and
if
it's
you're
automated, it's done. It runs behind the scenes. So many things that we have programmed into our firm, you set it up and it runs.
Yes.
And not many people other than myself and the firm really even know all the stuff that's going on in the background.
Which makes it more foolproof.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we talked briefly about your move to Puerto Rico, but tell me more. This is very new. What has it been like running the firm from Puerto Rico?
Yeah. So, I mean, I have built my firm over the last 25 years, so I don't physically need to be in the office. And by starting these other offices in different cities, that was the groundwork, right? How could I run my law firm in a different city, state? And it comes down to culture. It comes down to training. It comes down to making sure that everybody feels a part of the firm and the team and working cooperatively. We were doing this before COVID, right? I mean, COVID, everything is remote. I mean, having an office in another state is essentially having a remote office.
How do you handle, you've used the word culture, but that's like a buzz term nowadays. Like, what do you mean when you say culture?
I wish I could tell you. I wish I could bottle it up. It's a lot of little things. I don't think I've heard anybody really be able to define and grow a culture as a replicable process.
Yeah, because it's unique to each firm.
It is. I mean, it starts at the top. It starts with me. I have firm values, and we broadcast them constantly.
What are some of those? Efficiency.
Sure. Yeah. Well, technology.
Technology.
Okay? Technology. One of them is integrity, right? Is that, we are not ambulance chasers. Our reputation is very important to us in the community, with doctors, with lawyers, with insurance companies. Integrity. Accessibility, right? We want to break the stereotype of stuffy lawyers.
Communication.
Listen, and communication. We have client responsibility. We can only do so much. A client has got the responsibility to do things on their case, and we have to advise and counsel them as to what needs to be done.
This is not just a one-way street here.
That's right.
So teaching people how to consume legal services and meeting the expectations that you've set.
Right. And I think if I had to boil it down to one thing is, at least in the PI space, 95% of our clients, this is their one and only car accident or accident.
Yeah.
And they don't know.
They
have no idea what to expect. So what they expect is what we tell them.
Got it.
And we tell them from intake to the case manager. I mean, all along the process.
You're guiding the expectations.
Exactly.
So you've been doing this. You're now in Puerto Rico. What's life like in Puerto Rico? Are there a lot of lawyers out there?
Yeah, there are quite a few personal injury lawyers. Listen, I mean, Puerto Rico's got wonderful weather, terrific people, but at the end of the day, there's some terrific tax advantages.
And is that kind of like you met a bunch of people that were doing that, and you said, "Hey, maybe I'll think about this."
Well, my wife and I started talking about where we saw our life over the next.
Are we moving to Florida?
Well. We love to travel, and I'd love to live around the world. 6 months here. If I like it, stay longer. If we don't, we'll move. Just and my wife correctly pointed out, Michael, we need at least a home base. So that's where it started.
You were going to just be a nomad.
So where can we have a home base? And so I started looking into it, and I said, you know what? We should get a trailer in Wyoming.
That was your plan?
I mean, I'm being facetious, but for tax benefits and for a home base, a trailer
it meets the
in
criteria.
Wyoming. And she's like, I'm not staying at a trailer, and I'm not moving to Wyoming. So I started looking a little bit more seriously and found out about Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico, we are still U.S. citizens. We're residents of Puerto Rico, but we are U.S. citizens. And it is not a state. It's a territory, and it's got its own tax code. Now, the tax code is almost the same as the federal tax code, right? But it allows Puerto Rico to have a few little nuances. And one of the nuances is They want to attract high net worth individuals.
Okay.
Right? They want people to bring capital to Puerto Rico, and in exchange, they will give very beneficial tax treatment.
I've never heard this. So what kind of capital do you need to bring to Puerto Rico?
Well, it has to make financial sense to do it. But essentially what happens is I have created a Puerto Rican LLC, which is a law firm consulting company. My law firm in the United States pays my Puerto Rican company.
Got it.
My Puerto Rican company pays me a small salary as an employee, but everything else, all the dividends and shareholder distributions are all taxed at 4%.
That's amazing.
So, if I were to pay my Puerto Rican LLC $100,000, my tax rate in the States is like 37%. In Puerto Rico, it's 4%.
So by the virtue of that, people are buying nice homes there.
It is a trade-off. Everybody that I've met takes their responsibility to the island very seriously,
Okay.
right? We're all looking to contribute. This is our home.
You're
now.
building a community.
We're building a community. So what can we do to give back? And
have you met some interesting people being there?
Wonderful people.
Really?
And before my wife and I made the decision to move, we talked to a lot of the lawyers there. They had no vested interest. They don't care whether we come or not. And every single one of them said, it's amazing. The culture, the people, everything is amazing. Well, what don't you like? Nobody had anything bad to say.
And the weather's been good.
The weather,
no storms.
No, well, we haven't been there for the stormy season yet. But here's the thing: is a hurricane, you see it coming.
Yeah.
Hey, let's just fly back to Chicago, hon, or let's go somewhere else.
You feel confident that you could hurricane-proof your house?
Yes. The hurricanes that go. Listen, Puerto Rico is still a very poor country in a lot of places, but in the San Juan area. And then a couple other developments, it's as modern as any other city. We're sitting here in Miami now, and you know what? It's just like this in San Juan, just not as fancy, not as upscale. You don't see as many, Ferraris going down the street, and you don't see as much plastic surgery. But it's, San Juan is a great city, and I would say weather-wise, it is better because Puerto Rico always stays between 70 and 90.
Oh.
It never gets colder. It never gets hotter.
So it's a little mild.
That's right. Florida, 2 or 3 weeks ago, it was cold. It was like in the 50s.
You're right. Variation.
You guys had snow. I don't know if you had it in Atlanta, but I know South Carolina had snow.
Florida had snow.
So in Puerto Rico, San Juan, the coldest temperature ever recorded in San Juan was 62.
Wow.
The highest temperature ever recorded was 98.
So you're in that range.
It's like Hawaii. It's between 70 and 90.
And there's a breeze?
There's the Caribbean breeze, constant. There's the sun.
Now, did you buy something right away, or are you kind of getting
we're renting,
to know?
Yeah, we're renting the first year because and that is a requirement. We do have to buy, right?
Oh, you have to buy.
Within 2 years, you have to buy. But this is our home. But we did want to rent for a year because once you buy, then you find out that the neighbor's got a dog that barks all the time, or that it's a busy traffic street, or, we really want to investigate.
Where you're going to invest.
And then also, my wife and I love, the city life. And maybe we moved to the suburbs. I don't know, but I didn't want to move buy a house in the suburbs.
You want to experience
We want to experience the city.
So you're here we're at American Association for Justice in Miami. You're speaking. What are you speaking about?
Well, yesterday, it was interesting because I speak so much about technology. They asked me to speak about outsourcing because we outsource a lot at my law firm, whether we have an international team or medical records or demand letters or bookkeeping. And it was largely non-technology related. So I had to put something together, and I felt like saying, and at the end, I said, all this outsourcing talk is probably, not even relevant a year from now because AI is going to do it.
Do a lot of these things.
It's going to do a lot of it. It's going to do a lot of it. So, but I spoke on that yesterday, and then tomorrow I'm speaking on AI for staff, right? My lawyers use it all the time, but what kind of things can staff members use AI
Getting the
for?
buy-in.
Yeah. And one of the things that has allowed my team to really start using it is, we have internal Teams chats like Slack.
Slack,
right? So our
yes.
lawyers have a chat and a Slack or a Teams, and our paralegals and our case managers. And so I've encouraged everybody, if you come up with a good idea that you put through ChatGPT, share it. And it's encouraging people.
So build a
never
channel
thought about that.
that's like ChatGPT prompts.
Yep.
That's
exactly.
such a good idea.
Exactly. And you touched on it earlier, is that it's really forming the right queries, right? So
100%.
when we were in law school, we had to learn the Boolean search, slip within 3 of fall. And if you were good at a Boolean search, you could find your cases, right?
Well, I think I'm really excited for learning to be making this transition because, in school, you're taught to memorize all these things. That's really not the skill. The skill is how resourceful are you? And being good at prompting and command, these type of things is how resourceful are you? How are you able to figure things out? And it's by asking the right question. Right. And for years, our educational system was rewarding, the wrong thing, in fact.
So the history of humankind has been whoever has access to as much knowledge has power.
Correct.
Right? Now, knowledge is irrelevant because everybody has access to whatever knowledge is out there. Now, the future of mankind is going to be how you process that knowledge. Right.
Context.
And all of that, and getting that out of it.
It's so true though, because it's like a lot of the reasons why people are not executing things is not because they don't have access to it's like maintaining your health. I don't think people don't know what they need to do to be fit.
Right.
At this point, it's like the information is there. Right.
I mean, you've got kids. It drives me nuts. If my kids ask me a question, I'm like, why didn't you just Google it? Right? They're on their phones constantly, but they're not using the phone for
the right thing,
what it can be used for. And the phone's the wrong word, but using the technology for what it really can be used for. And I won't pull it out, but I've started every presentation that I do. Well,
yeah, let's go.
So when I speak, this is what I have started doing on all my presentations. So let me just fire it up because it's off. Good morning. I am speaking with Jenn Gore on a podcast about law and technology. Say something intriguing to get the people's attention about how AI is going to impact the legal profession.
Here's something to grab attention right off the bat. AI isn't coming for the legal profession. It's already here. The question isn't whether AI will change how we practice law, but whether lawyers will embrace it or get left behind. From automating tedious paperwork to predicting case outcomes with staggering accuracy, AI is revolutionizing everything from intake to trial strategy. The firms that adapt will thrive. The ones that don't, well, they might just become a cautionary tale. That should set the tone for a compelling discussion.
It's so good.
Right.
It's so good. Yeah. What are you most excited about for 2025 in your firm?
In my firm. So we hired a new position, an in-house trainer, because we are hiring so many people. And we have, training modules and all this. But what was happening is, we were having our best people train the new people. So our best paralegal would train a new paralegal. Our best case manager would train the new case manager. And nobody ever complained about it. But at the end of the day, that's taking away from them doing their job by having to train.
They may or may not want to do that.
That's right. And as we have grown and as we continue to grow, my CMO, Brian, says, when you get to a certain point, you become a hiring agency, no matter what business it is.
Absolutely.
And you have to look at it that way, is how can you attract the best talent? How can you interview them, screen them, hire them, onboard them, and then retain them, right? And so we've spent a lot of time over the last year really refining our process. And I know that you've done that too.
Yeah.
That hiring has always been a key for your firm.
It's a never-ending cycle of, working on all parts of the firm and then getting better. And even just as we're sitting here today, you're giving me ideas, and like sometimes things, but like it's a good reminder. This is why we do mastermind groups. This is why it's good to be around people who are geeking out on these things, because they remind you that there always is a way to make your firm better.
One of the reasons I love speaking and I love teaching and sharing is because it helps me refine my own thought process. I think it's like therapy, right? When you go to a therapist, and I'm a huge advocate of mental health, when you go to a therapist, it's you talking, and maybe a few prompts, but it's you explaining, and then you come to your own realization and your own conclusions. And so when I talk to you about this or give a presentation, listen, my firm is not perfect. I mean, we run really well. I know
there's lots of things.
No firm is perfect, right? No. But the more that I talk about it, the more that I refine it myself in my mind, and then be able to execute and be able to execute it. Yeah.
What would you say to a lawyer listening to this? They're just starting their own firm. They're maybe just out of law school. You've built something quite impressive, and it's been a long journey. What would you say to that person?
Well, I tell everybody the very first thing that I would do before I started my firm is hire a bookkeeper to get your books set up properly.
That's so true. That could be a nightmare if you don't do that.
Oh, I thought that QuickBooks was merely a checkbook for the first 10 years, and I would handwrite all my checks and then type them into QuickBooks, and it took several years to unwind all of that mess. And now I can't live without my books. It's amazing. And it's not,
most people get disbarred not because they are not a good lawyer. It's because they're sloppy with the business.
Yeah. So that's my number one tip. Just hire somebody. I know that money is tight when you start. The other thing is when you start your own firm, you've got more time than you do money. So use that time to invest to generate clients. There's a million ways to do it. I don't suggest people to start a website. Don't put a lot of money into a website, because you're never going to catch up to the folks like us that are so far ahead.
It's the hustle mode in those first years of knocking on doors, shaking hands, getting yourself out there.
That's right. Go to law firms like mine and yours that have got more cases than they can handle. I love young attorneys to reach out to me because we refer out a lot of cases. I can't litigate all the cases that need to be litigated. Now we'll handle them in-house, but if they deny liability or they have a bad offer, we're not settling. Now it doesn't mean that I have to litigate it, or my firm. We're trying to keep our litigation cases to 6-figure potential, but that doesn't mean that we sell people short. There are young attorneys that are out there hustling and
litigating
I did them. That's how I started. I tried cases that were $20,000, $30,000 cases. I can't afford to do that now, or my firm
doesn't make sense.
Right. But there are lawyers out there, and now you have to screen who they are, and I'm very clear about my expectations. So what I will tell any attorney that I start a referral relationship with is this: when I refer you a case, it's because we couldn't settle it. Don't think that the insurance company is going to all of a sudden say, "Oh my God, this new lawyer we're going to give you more money." It's not going to happen. Okay?
You're going to have to litigate it.
I am referring this case to you because it needs to be filed. I want it filed within 30 days. I refer you a case. Don't sit on it until the statute of limitations. No. Is that too much to ask? No. But if you're not going to do it, you're not going to get my business. Second is, this is now your case. I don't want the client calling me for status. You keep the client up to date. And guess what? If the case goes south and you settle it for crap money, that's your decision. I'm not going to second guess it. You know what the case is worth, but I expect you to do the best you can. Then finally, send me a copy of the settlement sheet and a check.
Yeah, simple. But again, teaching your referral partners how to work with your firm.
That's right.
A lot of people expect these things, but they don't say them.
Right. So, you know that a large portion of my practice is based on referring attorneys. And here's the things that we do that we go above and beyond. So we have a referral attorney portal,
Yes.
which attorneys can log on at any time and see the status of their referrals. Okay.
And is it mostly referred for litigation, or these are like family
No,
law,
no.
criminal law?
Oh, no, it's 100%. Oh, the referral
Who's
partners.
referring?
We've
wide
got wide variety. But we
You
are
systematized referrals, kind of the same
absolutely.
thing, and you've made it a more direct, straightforward.
So here's a great automated process. See, I still maintain those relationships, okay? I'm the one out there going out to dinner or establishing that connection. Then it's my team that takes over. But anytime there is an offer above $100,000 on a referring attorney case, it notifies me.
That's
And
great.
I pick up the phone and I call the referring attorney. Not always, but, hey, remember that case that you sent? We just got an offer of, $600 on it. We're going to settle it. It's not done yet, but it tells them, hey, they're going to get a nice check.
You're kind of like what I would say the mastermind behind Little Hinges Swing Big Doors.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you do these little things, these little touch points, these little systems that have massive effect. And it seems like you've incorporated customer service or communication in all areas, not just with the clients, but now with the referral partners.
Well, guess what? Referring attorneys are my clients.
True.
That's it.
Such a good mindset.
Those are my clients. Me
Now,
as the managing partner, those are my clients.
People would say, but you're paying them all this fees and all this. You also do some traditional marketing.
Yeah. I mean, we're very active in the community. I've had my firm for 25 years. We remarket to everyone.
The
right?
list.
Yes. So what people don't understand is it costs a lot of money to make that phone ring. And whether you take a case or it's not a case, that is still something that you invested in.
Yes.
And so when I said if we get 100 leads, we sign up 30, what happens to that other 70? My intake team is being very nice to these people.
Yeah, we want them to come back when it is the right time.
And then we put them on our mailing list, and then and we track all of that.
Yes.
And I know that it works.
It's so good.
I mean, this is a facetious example, but I want to sue somebody because aliens abducted my dog. Right? Oh, I'm so sorry, Miss Gore. That must be terrible. You're going through so much, and unfortunately, it's not the kind of case that we handle. And you know what? Usually we can try to help somebody with a referral, but this is so specialized. I don't have anybody to help you. But you know what? We do car accidents and medical malpractice. And I'll tell you what, we're going to put you on our mailing list. So please reach out to us if anybody. That's what our intake team does.
So smart.
And then we track.
So genius. McCready, you are a master. I honestly, every time I talk with you, I feel like I get more dialed in. We have the best phone catch-ups.
Yes.
And your presentations are always value. You deliver. I'm grateful for you to come on today. How can people get a hold of you?
Hopefully McCready comes up as number one on your search because I pay a lot of money for that to happen. Don't hit the sponsored ads. I'm paying for that. So it still amazes me so few people understand what PPC is.
Oh,
and
they're
when
clicking
it says
through people's ads.
I know
people are doing that.
I know, and or what a client Googles me and it comes up and they click and it's a current client. I'm like,
I know.
So how do people get a hold of me? I'm not like Bill Gates who's got a secret email. It's michael@mccreadylaw.com. I've got an EA that does go through things, but brings things to my attention. So, and you know me well enough.
Yes.
I'm always willing to to help or to give a bend an ear and help somebody. My expression is that other plaintiffs' lawyers, they're not the competition, they're not the enemy. Right? The enemy is the insurance company.
So true.
So anything that I can do to help you or another plaintiff's attorney represent their clients, and get the money that our clients deserve from these greedy insurance companies and corporations? Absolutely.
Abundance
Absolutely.
mindset.
Yes. Yeah, you could say that. You can say that.
Well, thank you so much for.
It's always a pleasure chatting with you, Jen.
Thanks for enjoying the Tip the Scales podcast today with me and Michael McCready. If you liked this episode, subscribe, click below, and follow us.